Jolene Macintyre, the driving force behind Bad Chad Customs, built a reputation for discipline, creativity, and relentless commitment to her craft. Behind the cameras and the polished image of a growing automotive empire, she carried the weight of operations, finances, and emotional stability for the entire team. But in late 2024, her life was shaken by a personal tragedy that would redefine everything she thought she knew about strength. The sudden loss of her mother became a turning point that tested not only her career, but also her emotional endurance, forcing her into a battle between grief and responsibility. Rising career and the making of an empire before tragedy struck, Jolene Macintyre was already deeply embedded in a fast-growing creative and business environment. Bad Chad Customs had become widely recognized for its bold automotive designs and media presence, and Jolene played a crucial role in shaping that success. She was not only managing finances, but also coordinating schedules, overseeing operations, and ensuring that projects moved forward without delay. Her ability to balance structure with creativity made her indispensable. As the business expanded, so did her responsibilities, and her days became a constant cycle of planning, problem solving, and keeping the entire system functioning. The weight of responsibility behind the scenes. While the public saw finished projects and polished television moments, Jolene was managing a much more complex reality behind the scenes. She was the stabilizing force, ensuring that deadlines were met and resources were properly allocated. Every build required coordination between multiple teams, tight budgeting, and constant communication. This level of responsibility left little room for rest. Even as the brand gained global attention, the pressure on Jolene quietly intensified. She became known as the person who could keep everything running, but that role came at the cost of growing mental and emotional exhaustion. Pressure, burnout, and strained personal boundaries. As workload increased, Jolene began to experience significant burnout. The overlap between her professional and personal life made it difficult to separate work from home. Her relationship with her partner and collaborator became strained at times, especially when disagreements arose over budgets, timelines, and staffing decisions. What once felt like a shared creative journey began to feel like a constant negotiation under pressure. On top of this, family responsibilities added another layer of complexity, leaving her with almost no time for rest or emotional recovery. The strain built quietly but steadily over time. Expansion into media and growing demands. The shift toward television and digital content amplified Jolene's responsibilities even further. She was no longer just managing builds. She was also involved in content planning, filming schedules, advertising coordination, and on-camera appearances. The transformation of the business into a media-driven platform meant her presence was required in multiple areas simultaneously. This constant demand created a cycle where work never truly ended. There were weeks when she barely had a moment away from production. Despite the excitement of growth, the workload pushed her toward a breaking point that few around her fully recognized. A moment of decision: stay or step away. At one point, Jolene seriously considered stepping back from her role. The overwhelming pressure and exhaustion made her question whether she could continue at the same pace. She thought about delegating more responsibilities and possibly leaving the project entirely. However, the fear of seeing everything she had helped build collapse without her guidance weighed heavily on her decision. Ultimately, she chose to stay. Her commitment to the business, the team, and the vision they had created kept her anchored. That choice reflected both her loyalty and the burden of responsibility she could not easily release. The illness of her mother and emotional shock. In late 2024, Jolene's life took a devastating turn when her mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. The progression of the illness was rapid, leaving little time for preparation or emotional adjustment. Within weeks, Jolene found herself navigating hospital visits, emotional conversations, and the harsh reality of impending loss. Her mother had always been a central figure in her life, offering guidance, stability, and emotional support. Facing this situation while continuing to work created an unbearable emotional split, forcing her to live between professional obligations and personal heartbreak. The passing of her mother and immediate aftermath. On November 28th, 2024, Jolene's mother passed away, leaving a profound void in her life. The loss marked the beginning of one of the darkest periods she had ever experienced. Despite the grief, she continued fulfilling her professional duties, driven by obligation and the fear of everything falling apart. The emotional weight affected her deeply, making even routine tasks feel overwhelming. Projects were delayed, communication became more difficult, and those around her noticed a clear change in her presence. The foundation she had helped maintain suddenly felt unstable under the strain of grief, public reaction, and emotional transparency. Rather than hiding her pain, Jolene chose to share her loss publicly, opening up about the impact her mother had on her life. Her honesty resonated with many people who followed her journey. Messages of support poured in as she expressed gratitude and remembrance. This openness humanized her beyond her professional role, showing the emotional depth behind her public image. While continuing to work, she carried her grief openly, balancing vulnerability with responsibility. The response from supporters and colleagues helped create a sense of shared empathy during a deeply personal and painful time. Coping through work and finding new meaning. In the aftermath of her loss, Jolene leaned heavily on work as a coping mechanism. Rather than withdrawing, she immersed herself in ongoing projects, finding structure and purpose in staying busy. She often expressed that thinking about her mother gave her motivation to keep moving forward. Over time, however, her perspective began to shift. Work was no longer just about achievement or expansion. It became tied to memory, meaning, and emotional endurance. She started placing greater value on family moments, personal reflection, and the importance of balancing life beyond professional success. Transformation, resilience, and conclusion. The tragedy of 2024 became a defining moment in Jolene Macintyre's life. While the loss of her mother brought immense pain, it also reshaped her sense of strength and purpose. She emerged from the experience changed, more resilient, more reflective, and more aware of what truly matters beyond work. The pressures of business, once overwhelming, became part of a broader perspective shaped by grief and growth. Though the pain remains part of her story, it also became the foundation for a renewed determination. In facing loss, she discovered a deeper form of endurance that continues to guide her forward.